Hello there, good evening. Welcome to Look North, our top story tonight. Local banks for local people. Our part of the world ranks worst for high street branch closures.
And I think it's a sad reflection of the state that we now have a constituency of Ossett and Denby Dale with no banks whatsoever.
We'll find out what protection is in place so you can still call on your cash. Also tonight, 2 men plead not guilty to the murder after the death of a woman from Bradford and her children. Police release a picture of a man they want to talk to after the attempted abduction of a baby on a train. And the theatre group with a monster problem, a big new venue but thousands of tickets to sell.
Well, there's plenty of unsettled weather on the way. The Met Office have got a warning in place for potentially some heavy rain in places in the next 24 hours. Don't miss that detailed forecast.
Hello, thank you for your company this Wednesday evening. A question for you. How local is your local bank? Well, with them disappearing from high streets in recent years, many of us are now miles from our nearest branch. According to new research by consumer group Which, our region is the worst in the UK for access to banks. There are just 248 bank branches left across Yorkshire and the Humber. And across the country, there are 30 constituencies with no banks at all. A third of them are in our region. So that's 10 areas, including York Outer, Sheffield Hallam. We've got Penistone and Stocksbridge, Barnsley South, Bradford South, without a single bank branch. Now, the Financial Conduct Authority has now released new rules to protect community access to cash. And banking hubs are opening up to restore services to areas left without. Olivia Richwald has been to find out more.
Bank Street in Ossett is no longer an accurate description. In fact, the town and the wider constituency has no banks at all.
I mean, when I first moved to Ossett with 5 banks, no, with nothing, it's ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous.
It feels unfair, you know, because there's people who don't do online banking and they're just pulling the services. So I worry about vulnerable people, to be honest with you.
TSB used to be in Ossett, now in Wakefield. So I've got to trail to Wakefield. Then we've got a problem parking and walking and yeah.
The last of the banks to abandon the high street was Halifax. In its place, this banking hub opened, run by the post office.
40, 60, 81.
You can cash and deposit cheques and make withdrawals for most of the major banks. And these 5 providers send a member of staff like Helen, who works for Lloyds, 1 day a week to deal with more complicated matters.
Is 1.3% at the moment, but that's instant access.
These customers want some human interaction, so they want to come into a place instead of trying to decipher their mobile app. They can come in and they can speak to a human being and get all their services provided.
In Ossett, we are very lucky that we now have a banking hub which has replaced some of the services, but it will never replace the empty shops that have been created since banks have left. And I think it's a sad reflection of the state that we now have a constituency of Ossett and Denby Dale with no banks whatsoever.
And these are really big, magnificent buildings in many cases, aren't they?
Some of them have been here a very long time, and when a shop like that closes, it's a big store, and there are very few people that want big stores anymore.
Ossett still has 1 building society left, but the loss of the last bank affected businesses who rely on footfall.
It was sort of surprising that Halifax went because it was always very busy, but we know that their staff were utilised in other branches, mainly into Wakefield, so with the staff shortages, so it gave them an excuse to get out of town really. A lot of businesses have lost quite a bit of trade. People would come into town and do their banking, now they have to go into Wakefield or Dewsbury.
David is getting ready for the Oktoberfest season and says just 20% of his transactions are now made with cash. He welcomes card payments, saying they save him time and money. Businesses and customers alike are having to accept and adapt to the end of traditional banking on many high streets. Olivia Richwald, BBC Look North, Ossett.
Well, we want to hear what you think on this. Do you think there's still a need for banks on the high streets, or do you do most of your banking online? Do you think banking hubs will solve the problem? Do get in touch with us. We'd love to hear your thoughts. There's a QR code on your screen now that you can scan, or you can email us, look.north@bbc.co.uk. If you message us now, we'll try and read them at the end of the programme. Keeping on this subject, the debitor editor of Which Money, Sam Richardson, spoke to me earlier. I started by asking him about the impacts these branch closures are having on people in Yorkshire.
Yes, we found that Yorkshire and the Humber has the lowest number of branches per person in the whole of the UK. Now, people might be not be surprised to hear that Yorkshire has, say, fewer branches per person than London. It's also got fewer branches per person than Scotland, and shows that bank branch closures are a problem all over the country, and not just in rural areas, in towns and cities also.
And why are they closing? Because fundamentally, we do still need to do banking.
Yes, well, banks will say a lot more of us bank online and via our phones these days, and that's true, but there's many people who can't bank online and via phone, such as because of age or because of disability. For those people, having face-to-face access to bank staff is really crucial. It's essentially the right to access their own money.
I made that classic mistake this morning of forgetting my phone, which has got all my bank cards on it. Sometimes we do need that face-to-face interaction and being able to actually go somewhere, don't we?
Yes, certainly, and bank staff can give advice on very difficult money topics. They have a crucial role in stopping scams. Often people will be at the point of sending money to a scammer at a branch, and staff member can step in and say, why don't we have a conversation about this and check it? So branches do a lot more than, say, have cash machines and basic transactions.
We've been to a banking hub in Ossett today. All the branches of banks have closed there, and this is one consolidated place. Do you see more places like that popping up across the country?
Yes, banking hubs can be a really good solution. They're venues that are shared by different banks, so it's a lot more efficient for the banks. They may only be sending their staff there one day a week. The problem with banking hubs is there's not enough of them. So of the 163 recommended, just 81 have opened so far, and we think 350 are going to be needed in the next 2 years. So the pace of these really needs to pick up in order to match the many branches that have been closed in recent years.
What do you envisage happening if we don't see more of these hubs popping up soon?
So we've got this problem with the communities where the last branch has closed and banking hubs haven't opened, and the people in them are essentially having to travel to other towns to do simple banking tasks. In some extreme cases, travel to other towns just to find an ATM. And that's a real problem. It's a waste of people's time and money. And for people who don't have transport, may need help, they're essentially stuck. They're not able to do simple banking tasks or get out cash.
Sam, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Next tonight, 2 men have pleaded not guilty to the murders of a mother and her children who died in a house fire in Bradford. Bryony Gowith and her children died following the blaze in August. Corinne Wheatley has been to Bradford Crown Court and has the latest.
Well, it was a short hearing at Bradford Crown Court today as 2 men appeared via video link to face 5 charges. They're accused of the murder of 29-year-old Bryony Gowith and her 3 children, Dennis D. Birtle, who was 9, 5-year-old Oscar Birtle and Aubrey Birtle, who was just 22 months old. Emergency services were called out to the scene of that fire in Westbury Road in the early hours of the 21st of August, but sadly all 4 of them lost their lives. The 2 men are also accused of the attempted murder of Antonia Gowith. The defendants, Mohammed Shabir, who's 44, and Callum Sunderland, who's 25, both from Keighley, both replied not guilty as each of the 5 counts were read out. The court also heard that a 3rd man who was arrested at the scene of the fire remains unconscious in hospital. Now, Mohammed Shabir and Callum Sunderland were told they'll remain in custody and they'll face trial here on the 4th of March.
Corinne Wheatley there with that report. Police are appealing for information after a man grabbed a baby from her mother's arms on a train in Worksop. Detectives investigating the attempted abduction of the baby have released a CCTV image of the man they say can help with their inquiries. Here's Mark Ansell.
Yes, this is a really troubling story of the attempted abduction of a baby on a train. Detectives are investigating, and this is what we know so far. On Saturday, the 17th of August at 7:30 p.m. in the evening, as the train pulled into Worksop station, a woman was preparing to leave the train with her baby when the infant was snatched. The man responsible took off down the carriage with the baby. Police say, thankfully, a relative managed to grab the infant back. British Transport Police have released a CCTV image of a man they say can help with their inquiries. He's described by detectives as a stranger to the family, and he left the train here at Barnsley Station. They're appealing for anyone with information to come forward. Mark Hansel, BBC Look North, Barnsley.
You're watching Wednesday's Look North, still to come on tonight's programme. Comedian and broadcaster Lee Francis is back in his hometown and on the Look North sofa, well actually the canteen, to talk all about his autobiography. But before that, let's bring you some more stories coming into the newsroom. A man who was part of a mob that stormed a hotel in Rotherham has been jailed. 21-year-old Ashley Williams was part of the large-scale violence outside the Holiday Inn in Manvers last month. He was filmed throwing a fire extinguisher and a chair at police officers. He was sentenced to 2 years and 6 months in jail. North Yorkshire Police are growing concerned for a teenage girl who's gone missing from her home in Harrogate. Leah, who's just 14, was last seen yesterday wearing a grey leather jacket and black trainers. She's believed to have links with Bradford and Leeds. If you have any information on Leah's whereabouts, contact the police on 101. A council meeting has been hearing how the closure of a town hall in West Yorkshire has been a huge blow to the local community. Cleckheaton Town Hall was closed last September by Kirklees Council as part of the review of its estate. A local group have now called on the council to reopen the hall as an event space instead. Now, an award-winning exhibition celebrating York's most famous ghosts has returned to the city. Ghosts in the Gardens showcases 45 sculptures of York's most iconic spectres, including one dedicated to the famous university duck, Longboy. The sculptures were made of wire netting to give the illusion of being transparent and are featured throughout the city's public gardens. It's completely free, and last year it was fantastic. On to football now. I'm afraid Huddersfield Town's form didn't improve last night, despite them having another chance to put things right in front of their home fans. For the second match in a row, the Terriers conceded 2 first-half goals, and Blackpool never really lost their grip on the game, with the Seaside Town winning 2-0. Huddersfield stay 5th in the League One table for now, but manager Michael Duff is far from happy.
Believer in hard work pays you back. There's a lot of work to do. Today's exposed a few things that we probably sort of half knew, but it's sort of doubled down and concreted the fact that it's there and we have to get to the bottom of it.
Now, he is best known for his characters Avid Merrion and Keith Lemon, but Yorkshire comedian and broadcaster Lee Francis is back in his home city as himself. The Leeds lad, who recently finished his first stage show tour of his famous characters, has now written an autobiography and is back on stage in the city. We chatted over cake, about his Yorkshire roots and a new love of baking after winning Celebrity Bake Off.
I've never made a cake before, and I just thought, if I can make a sponge, I'm all right, because when it comes to the sculpting bit, I'm pretty good at sculpting. I make a lot of things at home, models and stuff. So once it came out as a cake, I thought, that tastes like cake, looks like cake. I'm all ready. But it was very stressful, and I got what you called bake ache.
What's that?
When you get a backache from baking. And this is what have you learned so far? I went, not to listen to my agent, I shouldn't be doing this, it's too hard.
This is a Rolo brownie.
A Rolo brownie. I like brownies. I feel like we should have a cup of tea.
Last time you were in Yorkshire, you were here for your first one-man show.
First time I'd ever done a tour. It was called My First Time. But on December the 14th, I'm returning to the Grand Theatre to do one night, only in Leeds. And it's been inspired from my book, which is out now.
Don't block my shot.
Sorry. So basically, Kate Thornton, lovely Kate Thornton, was a good friend of mine, will be chatting to me on stage about my life, using props. We'll have a prop and then talk what that prop means and why it became part of my life.
In the show, you are Lee, you are yourself.
Yeah, I am me all the time now.
How comfortable are you with that? Because we've always known you as playing characters.
Yeah, everyone asks me that, and because people think that I'm shy in real life, and I'm not shy at all, but that's not why my eyes are darting around as I talk to you. It's because I don't want you to get eye contact with me and fall in love with me.
It could happen, Lee.
Joking. I'm joking.
So in this book, this is not necessarily about your career, it's about you, Lee.
This is me growing up in Leeds, moving to that London,
That there London.
and getting into telly, and that's what it's all about. You know what, it's not all sing along and laugh though. There's some moments in it. When I was doing the audiobook, it was the hardest thing I've ever done because I'm dyslexic, and like reading for 3 days was quite difficult, especially when it gets to the chapter about my dad passing away when he was 47. Yeah, I was crying, and it was really difficult. But I feel really humbled that I have a memoir. And I thought, because I'm 50, you know, there's just different things I want to try. Yeah. It's like putting to bed loads of one side of my life and then on to the next.
And when it comes to your northern roots, how important has that been, and is it as you move forward to your next
Well, I guess it's never left me. I guess even when I was playing Keith Lemon, people forever in the street call me Keith, and I'm forever going, oh, my name's Lee, and they don't understand that it was a character. Sometimes they think it was my stage name. What was I saying? What was I saying? My roots. Yeah, it's never left me. I'm northerner, aren't I? And proud. And yeah, I enjoy Leeds. I think it's an amazing city.
Good to see you, Lee. Let's finish with a flapjack.
Okay. That's giving sort of bonfire vibes, isn't it? That's the pie of the bonfire.
What,
bonfire.
flapjack?
Flapjack is, yeah. Why, what do you eat on bonfire night?
Don't you eat parkin?
What's the difference between parkin and flapjack?
A lot of ginger and spice.
Is it? Not wrong with a bit of ginger, is there?
Do you know what? He is the loveliest fella. It's always a pleasure to have Lee Francis in the Look North building. Now look at this gorgeous image. A North Yorkshire artist who wanted to create a lasting legacy of this, the Sycamore Gap tree, will soon have 3,500 trees planted in a new woodland in its honour. Lucy Pittaway promised to plant a tree for every print that she sold after she was inundated with requests to paint the famous tree. It was felled almost a year ago to the day. Well, around 1,000 have already been planted at the Swinton Estate near Massam, and Stuart Wincup reports.
The aim was to capture the beauty of the Sycamore Gap tree, creating a lasting legacy in its memory, and this one picture has led to all of this. Around 1,000 sycamore, oak and hazel trees planted, creating a woodland trail on the Swinton estate.
I'm delighted. You know, you look behind you here, you can see the trees in the background that we've planted. We're about 1,000 trees in now, and we have more to plant this coming autumn. And it was a dream to be able to give back and produce a woodland of some sort, but never in my wildest dreams did I expect it would look the way it does already.
Millions felt a special connection with the tree and its landscape. There was a national outpouring of shock and sadness following its felling 12 months ago. Lucy and her team promised to plant a tree for every print sold, but even they've been amazed by the response.
The interest has been incredible. We've had people from all over the country being really excited about seeing the image, and it just seems to resonate with everyone that's seen it. I think it's looking so much more established already.
It is, yeah. There's several that have grown beyond the plastic tubes already.
Like many places, this woodland had been badly affected by larch tree disease, so this regeneration is crucial. The new woodland surrounds the old folly known as Druid's Temple, built by workers on the estate more than 200 years ago. Now soon there'll be around 3,500 trees planted around here, a woodland trail and art installations. The hope is that this will be an attraction that can be enjoyed by families for generations. The team say this is just the start, with many more trees expected to be planted in the months and years ahead.
It's absolutely fantastic to see them growing beyond the tops of the plastic tubes now, because when they were first put in the ground, you sort of looked in and were like, oh, they're that big. But they've grown really well over the course of the summer, so it's absolutely wonderful.
Lucy said her dream was to breathe new life into this landscape, creating a woodland to honour the Sycamore Gap tree. Stuart Wincup, BBC Look North, on the Swinton estate near Massam.
Such beautiful pictures as well. Now, finally tonight, the show must go on. When one amateur theatre group in Sheffield found out their venue wasn't available, a replacement was quickly arranged. Great news! It's the prestigious Lyceum. Bad news. They've suddenly got to sell thousands of tickets, and because they've had to bring the show forward, it takes to the stage on the 11th of October. They've only got a fortnight to do it. Tom Ingle has been to one of their rehearsals to try and tempt you.
Good evening, I am in central Sheffield where there is a thriving amateur theatre scene. Some of it is fantastic, some of it, well, he's trying really hard. If you know, you know. Let's stick with the people in the former group, the fantastic ones. This is an extract from Young Frankenstein as performed by Ellesmere Musical Theatre Company. Strike up the band! Look North, the only programme with a Frankenstein's monster, in the last half hour at least I checked. Let's bring on two of the stars of the show. We've got Danny Hawley here and Damien Ross. Damien, first of all, playing Igor and looking absolutely fantastic. You've got an issue here with this show. Not that the show quality isn't absolutely top-notch. The venue's changed.
That's correct, yes. We were meant to be performing at the Montgomery Theatre. Unfortunately, due to the renovations overrunning, we were looking to have to cancel the show, except the Montgomery and the Lyceum Theatre got together and found us a space so we could still perform the show.
Which is absolutely marvellous, but now you've got a heck of a lot of tickets to sell and 2 weeks to sell them?
2 weeks to sell it and a lot of tickets. We want to have a sell-out show. There's thousands of tickets at the Lyceum, so we want you to get online now and book.
So this is an emergency. The show must go on. Great news in a big space. Bad news, please buy a ticket right now.
Absolutely. You can't miss it, really.
Danny, son of Richard Hawley, when I interviewed your dad about standing at the sky's edge, which he had a little bit to do with, he said he'd do it as long as there were no jazz hands. You might be letting him down a bit here.
Yeah, multiple times in this show, actually, yeah. No, but this show is really, really fantastic. Everyone's pulled together, especially in the last couple of weeks. The committee's really pulled through. And everyone at the Montgomery, Lyceum, Sheffield Theatres, we just want to say a big thank you to you guys.
Is it going to happen?
Yes, definitely. And it's going to be brilliant.
It's going to be brilliant. That was my next question. Well, thank you very much, Danny. Thank you very much indeed, Damien.
Thank you.
Now, the Montgomery have said they are very nearly there with their renovations. They can't wait to welcome back amateur performances just a few more weeks. Until then, you're going to have to make do at the Lyceum with Young Frankenstein. Let's see a bit more.
I'm surprised Tom Ingle's not tapping with them. Good luck with the show. Thank you for your comments about banks going from the high street. Lots of you been in touch. Susan says, I feel for the elderly, no cash machines in a hub, so you have to queue. And do people think we've got nothing better to do with our day apart from queue? Good point, Susan. Anthony has emailed. He says his wife's blind. They never use card payment only. Recently had to go to the bank because they had a problem with the ISA. No app can ever sort that out. And finally, Sharon says, I worked in a bank until 7 years ago. It's now closed in my town. It was a big loss for the elderly and vulnerable who not just come in for banking, but for human connection. It's a really good point that we sometimes were the only person that they interacted with in a week. Such sad news. My dad always goes to the bank in Wakefield because he loves to go, and then he'll go and have a little coffee and some tapas. It's a day out, isn't it?
Well, very good. Well, I suppose so. I've never tried it myself, but, you know, maybe when I've got some spare time, I'll have a day out in Wakefield and go to the bank.
There's no better place.
Can I show you
They've got a bank, so you can.
This is Filey. Just people on the beach enjoying a little bit of weak sunshine. It's been very nice, or it was for a time, but the clouds did race in. And the second picture, which should be with you anytime now, that was this morning. Beautiful there in South Yorkshire. The season of mist and mellow fruitfulness, so I'm told. The sun rising there, that didn't last long either. If you've got any pictures you'd like to send to me, then the addresses are on your screen right now. So we have got a warning in place. Nothing really out of the ordinary for this time of the year. It's just wet and windy weather in autumn. But nevertheless, we have got a Met Office warning in place, but we're not expecting too many problems from this feature that's currently racing in. I think the thing that you'll notice most of all is Friday when we get this run of cold northerlies. but at least, although the weekend will be chilly, it does look mostly dry with some sunshine before this feature brings more rain Sunday night and into early next week. Now, the weather system associated with that warning, there it is. It's already bringing rain up from the southwest, so some of that rain could turn out for a time to be heavy, denoted by the greens, but it is moving fairly quickly. We do see a clearance coming up from the southwest later in the night, with temperatures roughly around 10 or 11 degrees Celsius. And so tomorrow's high water time's a poor day along the coast, Whitby 11:47, and then again at 20 past midnight tomorrow night. So I think, broadly speaking, tomorrow will be mostly cloudy. We'll see some showers, some longer outbreaks of rain meandering up from the south, some heavy bursts in there, and then this whole feature returns back southwards. So there could be some quite heavy totals, especially, for example, on the North York moors. Bit of brightness perhaps further south, but a chilly day for late September, highs of 12 or 13 degrees. And then, as I say, the rain sweeps back southwards through tomorrow evening. So Friday, we're off to a wet start, it brightens up, and there's a signal that the weekend's looking pretty good, but it will be chilly and quite windy. That is the forecast, Amy.
Can you remember the last time you went to a bank?
No.
I'm just trying to
think. I don't
think.
like getting money out anyway.
You don't like mixing with people, do you, in general? That's it from us. Thank you for your comments. Tom Ingle on the Late News. Bye-bye for now.